original state. Alright, so here's the rabbit. So I need to cut it up into pieces. So there are the ribs, as we can see. There are the front legs, there are the back legs. So I'm going to need to cut off the back legs. And I'm just kind of going in there best I can. I'm just kind of cutting in. Usually, when you're cutting things up like this, it'll be pretty obvious how you should cut. You know, if you're really sawing at it, something's wrong. And so, you know, I can open that up and sort of, you can almost rip it off. Yeah. And so, I'm ripping it off and looking for the bit where, there we go. Okay, so there's that off. So I'm actually just going to do it for this one. I'm going to kind of move it a little bit. There we go. And then try to saw in at that bit. It doesn't look like it has much meat on it. You're right. It's a pretty minimally meat creature. And one of the things, of course, is that rabbits aren't nearly as genetically modified as chickens have been. Not genetically modified, but just raised to have huge amounts of meat on them. Okay, so I've actually just broken off a bit of the back. That actually makes it a little easier for me to chop this. Okay, so that's chopped in half. And chickens have been very carefully worked over for many, many years. So now here's the problem. This is really lovely. I've now got the internal organs to work with. So I got like the liver and the heart still in here. This is actually a very nutritious food. So I'm just going to remove that, put it to the side. There's the liver, I believe. Wow, that's weird. That's really scary. Alright, so there are those tiny front legs. So the question is how to chop that off. And again, I'm doing kind of the same thing where I'm just kind of moving it around to get a feel for where the bone connects. Where's the shoulder bone? And I'm feeling something there. And I'm going to just cut through, see if I can find where that... So there's the shoulder I'm cutting into. Of course, being very careful about where I cut. Don't want to slice my fingers open. Once I get more used to this, I can make a nice, much easier cut. But there we go. So just by sort of working it in. So there's our pieces. And then we'll do the same thing over here. Just, you know, work it around a little bit. Just kind of get a feel there for where that connects. I'm going to cut in a little bit. Feel for where it's pulling apart. Okay, so there's the whole shoulder. So I'm cutting in from way back and cutting up. So I'm cutting the shoulder as well as the rest of it. And it should, yeah, it cuts right through. There we go. All right, so now I've got the ribs and the backbone, which they want me to cut into pieces. So again, I'm not sure how to do this. This is pretty carefully connected. The way this is going to work, actually, is it's all going to go to the crock pot, and then the flesh will basically fall off the bones. So we're not worried too much about the meatiness or so forth. It's all going to be worked out. But I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to chop this without just, you know, I can cut it right down the center, and then I've got these, you know, both sides of the ribs. So how do I cut that in half is the question. Yeah, I've heard the brain's good. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm just cutting down into the bone, the backbone. Cut right through the backbone, actually. There we go. And then cut through to the other side. Actually, there we go. So I've now separated it, so I've now got some of the backbone. And I think, because I'm going to be pan frying this again, that's actually a pretty good sized piece. But I'm going to slice it down one more. I'm looking at the pieces of the back, so I'm trying to go into the middle of the backbone. Hopefully this is not a bad idea. I just don't know. That's a funny thing, actually, about getting it from the supermarket. I could not get rabbit in anything other than a whole form. It was this or nothing. But also, it's interesting. You know, it's interesting to try to make something and figure out how it actually works. Okay, so I just sort of snapped it there. Sawing through was not making me happy. There's that bit. Okay, so Tim says, cut the meat between the two parts of the ribs. Come on. So this bit, that's the thing though, is that there's a bone there. So I'm not sure how to cut that. It just cuts down, okay. And then pull them apart. Well, okay, so they've kind of pulled apart. And I think we're just going to have to go with that. I think that's just what we've got. The neck and the ribs. I don't really want to cut across the breastbone, because that's actually a good-sized piece. So good. So there's our rabbit. And now we're going to move on to the actual recipe part. After thoroughly washing our hands, very thoroughly. In fact, I think I'll use soap twice in here, just because I've had so much in the way of raw meat in there. Yeah, neither have I. I don't think I've ever actually eaten rabbit. Which is kind of weird, considering rabbit is a pretty fundamental, well, here's the thing, rabbits makes a lot of sense when you're hunting, but they're not as easy to breed, at least in terms of keeping a farm compared to chickens. So chickens tend to get on farms and not rabbits. Because rabbits are apparently pretty unhealthy little buggers. They get sick real easy. Okay, so there's that. So now we need to cook the bacon, which I think I know how to do. That goes there. All right, so now we're going to move back to the other side of the kitchen and try not to kill this. There we go. Okay. Here's our pan. I'm going to cook this in some oil. I have some new peanut oil. Peanut oil has a very easy to cook with. If the cap will come off, there we go. As you can see, a new bottle of oil. Very exciting. Hey, Slither. And let's see here. So in it goes. Oil there. I believe it's 4 slices of bacon, which I happen to have. Of course, this is all natural, no preservatives, no nitrates, no nitrites, minimally processed, good stuff. Although one kind of funny thing that a lot of folks don't know, that I realized from reading the package, the USDA does not allow hormones in pork, in pigs. So if you see a bacon or other things like that saying, we don't have hormones in our things, it's like, well, you can't. You know, no one does. So that's not really a surprising health benefit. So I'll pull out is it a raft of bacon, a rafter of bacon, a rack of bacon? Not quite sure. And we open up the package, which is a little unhappy with us. I think I'm just going to do it this way. There's our bacon. And we wait for the pan to heat up. I'm going to heat up a little bit more. So the recipe basically is, at this point, In a large skillet, cook the bacon over medium-high heat until crisp. Transfer to paper towels to drain, then crumble and set aside. Add rabbit to the hot bacon fat, and brown on all sides. Transfer to slow cooker. Then we're going to add some flour, wine, and some garlic to make a sauce. And add some tomato sauce, water, thyme, and basil. Bring it to a boil. Pour it over the rabbit. We're good to go. So, bacon is first up. Hey, boom. And we'll see how that goes as that heats up. It'll take a few minutes. And meanwhile, we do a little bit of cleanup in the kitchen. Very important, as you're going, to clean things up. That can go up here. Now, this goes inside there. Unfortunately, I'm having some dishwasher issues. So, some things will ease you another at the moment. Time for some juice. Yeah, cast iron is awesome. You just have to be more vigilant about cleaning it and keeping it clean. But it is an amazing, amazing thing. That's good, Boom. That's a good one. You ever notice those weird old mascots from the 40s where, you know, a chicken processing plant would have a chicken as its mascot, or a hamburger company would have a cow as its mascot, and the idea is that, you know, here's this cow, you know, advertising its slaughtered brethren for your food. It's very, very strange. But no, Ronald's okay. This is a free-range rabbit that died in its old age. Yeah. It actually came up to the hunter and collapsed and begged to be eaten. That particular rabbit. Bring that over. Actually, I can clean off that dish. Get out some of that lovely fried rice bits. Some of the lovely fried rice bits. This is an actual cast iron wok, straight from China, as it happens. I ordered it from a Chinese restaurant supply company. So it's a real authentic, like, one solid piece of iron plus the bits, the handles.